Hello, and thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Bite-Size Cybercrime, the podcast where we discuss cybercrimes and cybersecurity news. This week we will be talking about the sabotage of a water dam in Norway, believed to have been pulled off remotely by pro-Russian hackers. This attack actually occurred back in April of this year. The floodgates of a dam in Norway were opened, obviously unauthorized, allowing a massive 500 liters of water per second to burst from the dam. According to some local reports, which were in Norwegian, so I had to translate them, the attackers managed to compromise a digital system that was used to control the flow of the water through the Bremanger Dam. I hope I pronounced that right. I had to Google it before this. And with this, they set the outflow valves to open. Water was flowing from the dam at a rapid rate for 4 whole hours until the operators discovered that the outflow valves were open and managed to reverse the change. By that point, more than 7.2 million liters, 1.9 million gallons for my fellow Americans who don't buy pop in 2-liter bottles so don't know how much a liter is, of water had flown through the dam. Thankfully, there wasn't any reported damages from this incident, but it still is extremely concerning. Norway produces most of its electricity via these hydropower dams. So similar attacks like this are an attack on the energy sector, and they could lead to things like local power outages. Attacks on the water supply are becoming rather common for a couple of reasons. Water is critical infrastructure. We all need water to survive, and with climate change progressing, we are very likely to see many areas of the world go through a water crisis rather soon in our lifetimes, which is existentially terrifying. As I just mentioned as well, water does more than just allow us to drink, water crops, run data centers, bathe ourselves. It also is responsible for supplying power to many areas. Attacks on dams specifically are also an attack on energy as well as water, and a threat actor being able to shut down the power to a town or even an entire city is obviously incredibly dangerous. Citizens without power would be without light, heat, air conditioning, refrigeration, and any device that needs to be plugged in, like computers or servers. And you better not hope you need to charge your phone or laptop either, because that's also going to be unavailable. And even if you can, it's likely you won't be able to reach your internet because your router doesn't have any power to it either. Having a backup generator is a good backup plan if you're able to have one, but a lot of people, especially in cities, may live in high-rises or apartment buildings that just don't allow you to have a power generator somewhere. So, unless those people's buildings have backup generators, they may be screwed. And how long will those generators last versus how long will the outage get resolved? That's a whole other calculation that needs to be made. Unlike many ransomware attacks we see on large corporations, attacks on critical infrastructure like water are actually not about the money. I always say attacks like these are about the money, which, to be fair, is mostly true, but this is about a display of power to make people fear. Despite water being incredibly important to our lives, it's often not very well funded, and the infrastructure that runs things like dams and water treatment plants also often run on very outdated software, hardware, and firmware. Things that have known vulnerabilities within them that can be easily exploited by hackers. Heck, there's entire databases for exploits for these very things. You don't even have to be a master hacker, you just need to know how to Google an exploit and plug it into whatever tool you're using. There have been many calls for critical infrastructure like water and energy alike to massively bolster their security, but there needs to be a lot of support and funding for this. It's not even the initial setup of brand new shiny systems, but the employment of staff that are knowledgeable and able to maintain these systems securely. And you better hope you don't buy something that goes out of business in a couple of years and is no longer updatable, because then you just need to replace everything all over again. And many of these systems controlling these plants are highly specialized. This is a similar issue to what hospitals run into. Highly specialized software that just becomes irrelevant. No one's maintaining it, so it just remains vulnerable because no one can really fix it. It's not as easy as just saying we need more people to improve the security of this. Security is a lot of things. It's not just having shiny new products and keeping things up to date. It's a whole culture. Thankfully, in this case, there wasn't really much damage, so it really was just a scare tactic. In fact, a group of pro-Russian hacktivists, a type of hacker that hacks for a political or social cause, took credit for the attack via Telegram. Not only did they take credit for it, because really anyone can take credit for it, they actually proved it by publishing a video on their Telegram showing the control panel of the dam, demonstrating that they did indeed have control over it. Norway claims not to be at war with Russia at the moment, but says that tensions are becoming high, and Russia is becoming a big threat to them, as well as the rest of the West. Russia has denied any involvement in this attack, and to be fair, I don't think this was necessarily a state-sponsored attack, but Russia also tends not to punish cybercriminals that are performing these attacks against other nations, so it may as well be. Thank you to Reuters, Dark Reading, and the Bleeping Computer for information on this attack. I'm concerned for where attacks like these are going to go eventually, because cybersecurity is more than something that just stays on the internet. It has real-world impacts. Computing and the internet in general is a great thing. However, it is opening up many places to vulnerabilities that they simply were not exposed to in the past previously, like remote access to being able to control entire water plants. It's pretty scary, and I hope security for public sector, energy, water is taken more seriously in the future. Because although no damage really happened here, it's not a sign of good things to come in the future. Nevertheless, I hope you enjoyed listening to this week's episode of Bite-Sized Cybercrime, and until next time, stay secure.